My mother stole $105,000 from my savings to buy my stepsister an apartment. Years of sacrifice gone while I was in Europe. But I sued her, and what the judge ordered destroyed them completely. I'm 27 years old. I work in finance, and what I'm about to tell you still feels surreal, even though it's been several months now. My mother, the person who's supposed to protect and care for me, stole over $100,000 from my savings to buy an apartment for my half-sister. And when I say stole, I'm not exaggerating or being dramatic. She literally accessed my bank account without my permission and emptied years of work and sacrifice like it was nothing. But anyway, I guess I should start from the beginning, so this makes sense. Because the truth is, the signs were always there. I was just too young to understand them, or maybe I just didn't want to see them. My parents got divorced when I was like 7 years old. I don't remember much from that time beyond fights and slamming doors. And honestly, I think the divorce was the best thing that could have happened to both of them. My dad got shared custody and things were okay. I mean, they weren't perfect, but we were a functional family. You know? I spent time with both of them, and even though they weren't together anymore, I felt like they both loved me equally. But then my mom met Marcus when I was like 8 years old, and that's when everything started to change, although at the time I didn't really understand it. Marcus was, I don't know how to describe him, like the classic guy who tries too hard at first but then shows who he really is. At first he was nice to me. He bought me things, asked me about school, all that stuff. But there was something about the way he looked at me that made me uncomfortable, like he was calculating how long he'd have to pretend to care. They got married when I was 9, and the following year Sophie was born, my half-sister. And look, I'm not going to lie and say I hated her from the beginning or anything like that, because she was just a baby. But the way my mom changed after Sophie was born was like night and day. Suddenly I wasn't her daughter anymore. I was like an uncomfortable accessory from her previous life that reminded her of my dad. Everything revolved around Sophie, which I guess is normal with a new baby. But it never went back to how it was before. My mom would constantly cancel our plans because Sophie needed this or that, and Marcus started treating me like I was a nuisance in their perfect house. I remember this one time. I was like 11 years old. I came home from school excited because I'd gotten the best grade on a math test that was super hard. And my mom barely looked at me because she was busy taking 1,000 pictures of Sophie who had just taken her first steps. And when I tried to show her my test, she said something like, "That's nice, honey. Now go do your homework," and continued with her photo session. That was the moment, I think, when something broke inside me. By the time I turned 12, I basically begged my dad to let me live with him full-time. My weekends at my mom's house had become this horrible thing, where I was invisible. I literally ate alone in my room because Marcus and my mom would have dinner later with Sophie after putting her to bed. And when I tried to talk to my mom, she was always busy or tired or whatever. So I moved in with my dad, and it was the best decision I could have made. My dad is, I don't know, basically my hero. He worked in construction, didn't make a fortune, but he always made sure I had everything I needed. He helped me with homework, went to all my school things, we cooked together on Sundays, and for the first time in years I felt seen and valued. You know what I mean? Years passed and contact with my mom became increasingly sporadic. She'd call occasionally, like on my birthday or Christmas. But the conversations were super superficial and forced. I finished high school, went to college to study finance, graduated with honors, got an amazing job at a financial analysis firm. And throughout all that time, my mom was basically absent. She didn't come to my high school graduation because Sophie had a piano recital that same day. She didn't help me with anything for college, not that I expected her to, but she didn't even ask. And when I got my first real job, her reaction was like, "Oh, that's nice," via text message. Meanwhile, my dad was there every step of the way, celebrating every achievement with me like it was the most important thing in the world. I started saving aggressively from the moment I got my first job at 22. I was still living with my dad, didn't pay rent, but insisted on contributing to food and utilities. And basically every cent I had left over, I put into a savings account because I had this dream of buying myself a house before 30. I didn't go out much, didn't buy expensive things, didn't have a fancy car or anything. My entire focus was on building that future I wanted. And it worked. I mean, I busted my ass for 5 years straight, got promotions, took on extra projects, did everything right, And by the time I turned 27, I had over $100,000 saved, $105,000 exactly, to be precise, and I was about to start seriously looking for houses. My dad was so proud of me. He'd tell me I was more financially responsible than most people twice my age, and I felt incredible, like I really felt like I was accomplishing something important. And then my mom called. It was like in February of this year. We hadn't talked for like 6 months. And suddenly she calls me all sweet, saying she missed me so much. That Sophie always asked about me, which was an obvious lie because Sophie was 17 and probably didn't even remember I existed, and that she'd love for us all to have dinner together as a family. And I don't know why. Maybe because a part of me still had hope that things could get better. Said yes. My dad told me to be careful, that something didn't add up after so long without contact, but I told him that maybe my mom was really trying to reconnect, that people change. All those things you tell yourself when you want to believe something. The dinner was weird from the start. We went to an Italian restaurant that supposedly Sophie loved, and the whole time my mom, Marcus, and Sophie wouldn't stop asking me questions about my work, my salary, my savings. At first I thought it was genuine interest, like they were trying to get to know me after so long, but the questions were too specific, you know? Marcus asked me directly how much I had saved, and when I gave him a vague answer like, "I've saved quite a bit for my age," he insisted, asking if it was more than 50,000. Sophie asked me if I had everything in one account or diversified, which seemed super random coming from a 17-year-old girl who probably didn't even have her own bank account. My mom asked what bank I used, if I had online banking, if it was easy to make transfers. All these questions that at the moment I thought were normal conversation, but looking back, were obviously suspicious. When I went to the bathroom, I left my purse at the table because, I don't know, they were supposedly my family, and I never thought I needed to take it with me. I was gone like 5 minutes max, and when I came back, my mom was back in her seat after having gone to the bathroom too, according to what she told me. We finished dinner, said goodbye, and my mom hugged me and told me she'd loved reconnecting and that we should do it more often, and I left feeling good, thinking that maybe we really could rebuild something. How naive I was. Seriously. 2 weeks later, I went on a work trip to Europe. It was a big project with an important client, and I'd be away for like 10 days. I was super excited. It was the first time I was traveling for work to another continent, and the first few days were amazing. But then, on day 6, I checked my online bank account because I needed to transfer something to pay a credit card, and my heart literally stopped. The balance said $2,847, from $105,000 to less than $3,000. I couldn't breathe. I felt like someone had kicked me in the stomach, and for a moment I thought it had to be a system error or they were showing me the wrong account. I went into the transaction history with my hands shaking so much I could barely hold my phone, and there it all was. A series of transfers over the last 5 days, all supposedly authorized from my device, all going to an account I didn't recognize. The first transfer was for $30,000, then $25,000, then $20,000, and so on, until practically everything was drained. And the name on the transfers was my mom's. My own mother had accessed my account and stolen years of my work, my sacrifices, my dreams. I called the bank immediately, like I was crying and hyperventilating on the phone, and they explained that the transfers had been made from a device that had been previously authorized to access my account, which is why they didn't trigger any security alerts. And then, everything clicked. The dinner. The questions. My purse on the table. My mom going to the bathroom right after me. She had taken my phone while I wasn't there, had accessed my banking app that I like an idiot had configured to remember my password, and had added her information as a transfer recipient. Then she waited until I was out of the country to drain the account, probably thinking that by the time I realized it would be too late. I canceled all my meetings the next day, took the first flight back I could get, and went straight from the airport to my mom's house. I didn't call, didn't give notice, just showed up and knocked on the door like crazy. Marcus opened, and when he saw me, he had this scared look that confirmed he knew exactly what had happened. My mom came out and had the nerve to smile and say something like, "What a surprise! I thought you were traveling." And I exploded. I screamed at her, asking what she had done. How could she steal from me? That money was mine, and I had worked for it for years. And she first tried to deny it. Then when I showed her the screenshots of the transfers with her name, she changed tactics and started justifying herself. She told me that Sophie needed an apartment near her university, that it was her duty as a mother to make sure her daughter had the best, that I was already an adult and could save again, but Sophie needed help now. I told her that didn't give her the right to steal from me, and she literally said, and I swear I'll never forget these words, "It's not stealing when it's family. I'm simply redistributing resources more fairly." As if my money, which I earned with my work, was somehow family money that she could decide how to use. Marcus intervened, saying I was being dramatic, that Sophie deserved to have the same opportunities I'd had. What opportunities? The ones I'd created for myself without anyone's help? And that I should be happy to help my sister. I left there and went straight to the police station. I filed a report for fraud and theft, with all the screenshots, all the bank records, everything. The officer who helped me, Officer Rodriguez, was incredibly understanding. He told me that these types of family theft cases were more common than people thought, but equally illegal. He explained the process to me, connected me with the fraud division, and basically assured me they were going to investigate everything thoroughly. The bank immediately froze my mom's account when the police contacted them, and they discovered she had already transferred almost all the money to an account in Sophie's name, probably trying to hide it or launder it or whatever she thought she could do. The next few days were absolute chaos. The police went to interrogate my mom. She hired a lawyer. Marcus called me like 20 times, screaming that I was destroying the family. How dare I bring police into family matters? That Sophie was innocent in all this, which was debatable, because she knew where that money for her apartment had come from. Relatives I hadn't seen in years suddenly came out of who knows where to tell me I was overreacting, that I should settle this privately, that family is more important than money. And I told them all the same thing, that this wasn't a discussion about who ate the last piece of cake, that my mother had committed a crime and was going to face the consequences. My dad was my rock throughout all this. He let me stay with him again, because I didn't feel safe in my apartment after Marcus threatened to come find me to talk some sense into me. He accompanied me to all the meetings with the police and my lawyer. I cooked my favorite meals when I was too stressed to eat. Let me cry when everything felt too heavy. And never, not once, did he say, "I told you so," even though he had every right to. The case moved faster than I expected. My mom was formally charged with fraud and theft in the first degree because the amount was over $100,000, which made it a serious felony. She tried to get a deal by pleading guilty in exchange for probation and restitution, but my lawyer, this amazing woman who represented me almost pro bono because the case outraged her, rejected any deal that didn't include prison time. We wanted there to be real consequences, not just for her to return the money like nothing had happened. The court hearing was surreal. My mom arrived dressed all conservative, with makeup that made her look tired and fragile, clearly trying to play the victim role. Her lawyer argued that she was a desperate mother trying to help her daughter, that she didn't fully understand the legal implications of what she was doing, that she had confused taking care of her family with committing a crime, basically trying to paint her as this confused and well-intentioned woman, when the reality is, she knew exactly what she was doing. She planned everything, waited for the perfect moment, executed the body, theft when I was out of the country, and tried to hide the money. That's not confusion. That's premeditation. When it was my turn to testify, I explained everything, from the suspicious dinner to the moment I discovered my empty account, and I could see my mom sitting there without showing even a hint of genuine remorse. The judge, an older man who seemed fed up with dramatic family cases, listened to everything and then asked my mom directly if she understood that she had violated her daughter's trust and committed a serious crime. And she, instead of apologizing or showing any kind of regret, started justifying herself again, saying, "I didn't understand the responsibilities of being a mother, that Sophie was her priority, that I had my father and was fine financially." The judge interrupted her and told her that the responsibilities of being a mother didn't include stealing from her other children, and that her role as Sophie's mother ended where other people's rights began. A sentence was better than I expected, and worse than my mom deserved at the same time. The judge found her guilty on all charges, ordered her to return the entirety of the stolen money plus interest within 30 days or face 6 months in prison, and gave her 2 years probation. He also ordered that she couldn't have contact with me under any circumstances during that period. My mom and Marcus tried to appeal the decision immediately, arguing the sentence was too severe, but the appeal was denied in like 2 weeks because the case was crystal clear. They had to sell, I don't know how many things to gather. The money, the apartment they'd bought for Sophie, some investments they had. I think even a car. And the thing is, I didn't care one bit. That money was mine, they stole it from me, and they deserved every consequence they faced. Sophie tried to come to my apartment like a month after the sentence to confront me, crying and screaming that I had destroyed her life, that because of me, she'd had to leave her nice apartment and go back to living with her parents, that her friends had found out about everything and she was humiliated. And all I told her was to thank her mom for being a criminal and herself for knowingly accepting stolen money. And I closed the door in her face. The complete money was returned to my account like 2 months ago. The $105,000 plus interest and legal costs that the judge ordered. Seeing that balance in my account again was surreal, like I cried with relief because a part of me had thought maybe I'd never recover everything. My dad organized a small dinner to celebrate, just the two of us and a couple of close friends who had supported me through the whole process, and for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again. I requested a permanent restraining order against my mom and Marcus after he sent me like 50 threatening messages telling me I was going to regret it, that I had destroyed the family, that karma was real and it was going to hit me hard. The order was approved without problems, given everything that had happened, and now, legally, they can't come within 100 meters of me, my house, or my work. Linda, a distant aunt I barely know, sent me a long message a few weeks ago saying I should consider forgiving my mom because family is the most important thing and that holding grudges would only hurt me. I responded with a simple, no thanks, and blocked her. 3 weeks ago, I put an offer on a beautiful house in a quiet neighborhood, like 20 minutes from where my dad lives. The offer was accepted, the inspection went well, and if everything continues as planned, I'll be closing the deal in 2 more weeks. It's a 3-bedroom house with a backyard perfect for barbecues, and I'm already planning a housewarming party with all the people who really matter to me and who supported me when all this happened. My dad is going to help me move. Some friends from work already offered to help with furniture, and basically I'm going to start this new stage of my life, surrounded by people who really love and value me. Do I regret taking all this to the police and to court? Not for a second. Would I have preferred things to be different and have a healthy relationship with my mom? Obviously. But that was never really an option. My mom made her choices, chose Sophie and Marcus over me again and again for years, and then decided she had a right to my money, my future, everything I had built. And I made the decision not to let her get away with it, to defend myself, to demand justice. And yes, that meant losing half of my biological family, but honestly, that half was never really there for me anyway. Last week, I was at the bank finalizing some paperwork for the mortgage, and the person who was helping me commented on how impressive it was that someone my age had saved so much and was so financially responsible. And I realized that despite everything, despite the theft and the drama and the stress of these last months, I accomplished what I set out to do. I'm going to have my house before I'm 28. I built something solid for my future, and I did it completely on my own, without anyone's help except my dad's. And that's something no one can take from me, not even my own mother, although she tried her hardest.